No, they definitely have us on target at this point. We can't even get a hold of one another. It's one thing that, it's not urban legend. It's not psycho conspiracy theories. We kind of set up a scenario because we're noticing that like everyone texts to one another. They never call and talk to the people on the other line, and they have a right to do that. And I think most people would be militant that I don't want to call you. I'll just text you. And something has gotten aware of that and gotten a hold of people's caller IDs. And I initially thought it was just a personal thing with me, but I never said that to anybody. The thing that's so bizarre about it is that it seems to be targeting certain people that you know to be the ones who target you, and that's pretty disturbing because it's on a widespread scale. Again, I thought I was alone. Then I started going and seeing these videos on YouTube, and they talk about this targeted individual thing. Again, it's too bizarre of a thing to make up, and they're really just recording it all. There's no denying it. People think it's the CIA, it's the police, it's this, it's that. It's not the police. It's not the police. The police are actually the ones who are sort of advocating and saying these people are not crazy. But I have yet to see where they have exposed or mentioned, whether it's some kid making the video or it's the stuff on the news that it's shown that the police are aware of what's going on. Is this uh, communications hacking? Um, and it's frightening to me because it really messed me up in the head once I found out what was going on. At the time, it was too far fetched for me to believe. Now it's not far fetched at all. It took me 4 years to finally get over the psychological trauma, and I don't want people to go through that. But I know many people that have been mentioning that they were getting strange texts from a person who conveniently was someone that they suspected would do those things. This is high intelligence shit, but it's counterhuman. It's like for the last few years, I mean, think about the people that you've known that have gotten sick and they've died of unusual circumstances. We're talking about diseases that are reserved for the elderly are now happening in 30 somethings and 40 somethings. They're definitely aiming and targeting to kill people. Now, Trump comes out and spoke about the opiate crisis. That's a long time coming, man. It's a long time ago. And then, I don't know if you've noticed, I've seen some people had to go in for medical things, get teeth pulled and stuff like that. They don't even give you anything for the pain anymore. So it's way too coincidental and convenient that they seem to be pulling back, my medications for my Klonopin. They said you have to go somewhere else on the peninsula. So they targeted my doctor. Well, because he doesn't, I don't have insurance. So they're clearly labeling, okay, well, this is who we have to destroy and take out. And they'll do it in the way of self-destruction. They don't want to leave fingerprints. If you use drugs, this happens to me a lot. They will use the stresses that they can see in your files, and AI has access to those, to instigate you into doing these things, breaking your heart. They'll stress you out. They'll get you fired from your job so that, if they notice you've only done drugs when you were unemployed, for example. There's an attack on people. There's no doubt about that. It's invisible. I mean, you know what? It doesn't matter if it's an entity or a person. The fact of the matter is, it's definitely some sort of attack. And it's very difficult to understand the spiritual world, as they say, sometimes hits into the physical world. The line between the physical and spiritual world collapses and it breaks out in our earth. And this is what the fires are about. That's what the fires are about. That's what everyone's saying. Everyone's like, oh, they're lasers. We don't know what they're using. We're just telling you that if you saw this, you would know. If you were a victim of this, you would know. This wasn't a brush fire. It wasn't not even in the hills. And in fact, they even claimed it was global warming. And okay, so why? So global warming after 2 years now. Are you guys all having fires in your cities and stuff from the sun shooting laser beams? I mean, I'm not exactly sure what they're implying that this global warming and climate change is going to do. What the hell does that have to do with these things igniting? What does that have to do with every power line going bad in the state of California in 1 year? I mean, we always have fires, and yes, sometimes it is a power line, but now the state's windy, 365 days of the year, and no one thinks it's suspicious. The global warming just happened like they turned on a switch, and global warming is going to be the negative side effects and payback for what they've now admitted to with HAARP and all these weather control phenomena. Now that that's over with, they come out, they admit that. They don't really sell it to you, but if you look it up, you'll see like, oh wow, I didn't know they had openly admitted to this, saying it was for global warming. They weren't spraying chemicals, they were spraying aluminum foil. That's bad. Why? Because it's still alive. They're spraying aluminum foil. That's called MOTE. MOTE. It's smart dust. It coats the entire planet so that they can do a virtual 3D map on their computers of everything in the world. You're numbered, everything. We have this all over our skin. You're having skin irritation problems. I mean, there's all kinds of issues that are not just the side effect of this, what they would call them sky demons, because, commercial aircraft don't leave chemtrails, even if they have stuff in their fuel, as people said. No. They don't even take flight patterns. You can't crisscross lines like that in the sky. And no one says anything. No one thinks it's a big deal. And clearly, if we saw it and called it out, it's a big deal. You got to recognize that you saw us and called us out and said, thanks for telling us that. I mean, you know where we're getting our information. It wasn't because I read some paperwork on contrails and chemtrails. You know, you hear that God in your ear tell you, you know, you don't believe in God, that's fine. But if I'm picking to winning lottery numbers, clearly we are very much undefeated in the conspiracy theories department. All it does is take time for it to come out, and it turns out we're right. And then they hushly put it under the carpet. But so do you guys. You guys label us as crazy, then you tuck us away in your minds, and you wonder why you're going crazy because you abandon us. You give us no option. We're in the prisons, locked in the prisons of your minds. There's lots of people who are not in jail right now, but are still innocent of the crime they committed, and that's fucked them up. And even though they walk free, they're still paying for someone's false judgment. Now, when you say false judgment, we're not talking about guys who were convicted of murder in a courtroom and didn't really do it. We're talking about what you think about people. It's as if you've been empowered with some sort of altered consciousness. And, you know, you can wish it, like the wish it away kid in Twilight Zone. You can wish this away or wish for this. And if your God, whatever you want to call it, gives you that, it's going to be easy to manipulate you. Like, you know, a poor woman marrying a rich guy, he's going to control her with the money. You know, and it goes all the way down the line where they're like, we'll give him some money, but I don't think they know yet, because humans are never allowed to know that their true potential mentally is. So let's get them to hate certain people. They're doing this with Trump. That's why I said Trump's holding the steering wheel to this bus. You guys are really jumping on the bandwagon, not realizing the election was not real. Hillary and Mr. Trump being the two oldest presidents to ever, or people to run for president, should have been a huge red flag. Gen X is time's next. We bowed out because we don't think politics counts. And we end up with a guy that's doing probably the most radical changes, even more so than Hitler. There's no doubt about that. Because you guys don't know what he's done yet. You don't know the people that he's appointed in these positions. He's fired literally 2 or 3 times the same position. And people applaud that. Okay, we have no experience there. The Secretary of Defense, who was hushly, very suspicious, hushly awarded that prize, and didn't even make the news. But he was a goddamn lobbyist for Raytheon. And he admits that. I guess it doesn't make the guy a bad guy, but I mean, you would think the Secretary of Defense, guys, would have to have some serious military background. He doesn't. No, he won an award from Congress for being a great marketer for weather control technology, lasers, and weapons. I mean, that's not a coincidence, guys, because you weren't hearing us running around claiming that they're shooting lasers and declaring war on us a year or 2 or 3 or 4 years ago. Overnight, millions of people start telling you the California fires were started through directed energy weapons. Whatever it is, too many people at one time saw that. We're not conspiring together. It would be impossible to get that many people. It's not 1 or 2 on YouTube. I would say you definitely times 2, times 3 for the people that know us that are not on YouTube. In fact, the majority are not on YouTube or Facebook because they know the demons are on there now. They're data mining us. And I want them to come down here. Why? Because I'm going to blow you the fuck up. This one's from Matilda.